Ever since I graduated high school and been in college and starting my full-time job, it's been a lot harder to do the things I want to do because I just don't have enough energy when I'm done with classes or work now, and I want to be able to unwind and relax and do nothing at the end of the day. So I've been looking into how's the best way to optimize my energy, and what I've found is that it comes down to three factors. So in this video, I'm going to go over what those three factors are, how they affect our energy, and then I'm going to go over an optimal day to learn to have the most amount of energy and be as productive as possible. So first off is exercise. Now, it's been known that exercise can help increase energy, but why is that? One is endorphins. So when you exercise, your body releases endorphins, which make you feel more focused, more energized, and just overall feel a sense of happiness. Secondly, exercise also helps regulate cortisol, or also known as the stress hormone. You ever sit down and you have to do work that you really don't want to do, and you're really trying to focus on it, trying to figure out how to do it? I start getting more and more stressed out, and sometimes I even want to just take a nap. So by better regulating this cortisol, you're going to be less likely to be influenced by it and have more energy to do more work. The third factor is metabolism. So as we exercise, our body increases its metabolism. This is your body's ability to efficiently burn calories in order to turn those calories into energy, which means more energy throughout the day. The second factor is your diet. Your diet is how you take in more energy. You take in food, and as we just gone over, you get more calories, which you turn into energy. But it's not as simple as eating more calories means more energy output. As if you ever go to Five Guys and have a big fat hamburger with fries and a milkshake, it's a lot of calories, but for me, I have a crash of energy. I want to take a nap afterwards. Foods like that are very processed. They have a lot of fats and simple carbohydrates. And those two together give you a lot of calories, but not a lot of nutrients. And this influences in two ways. One, you don't get the energy from having the other nutrients to fuel our body to better do all its natural processes. And second, it gives us a big spike of blood sugar, which then crashes very quickly. And when you were a kid and you're ever having a lot of sugar, then having a sugar rush, and then you crashed very quickly, it's because these foods are very close to what our body uses as its main energy source, which is glucose. And your blood sugar is basically the glucose in your blood. So when you have something that's a very simple carbohydrate, it has a very high glycemic index. And a glycemic index is just a rating of 1 to 100 of your food. And the higher it is, the easier it is for your body to break it down and turn it into glucose. So if it gets into your bloodstream and you get a real burst of energy, but then you have a quick crash after because your body just took all that energy in and expelled it very quickly. So if we have something that's not as high in the glycemic index, it takes longer for our bodies to break it down. But what this does is the longer it takes to break down, the more sustained you have that energy throughout the day. Also, when you eat, you want to make sure you're having the proper nutrients, as a deficiency in any nutrient can lead us to having a deficiency in energy as well. Also, continuing with diet, you want to make sure you're hydrating yourself as much as possible because your body is 70% water, and if your body isn't properly hydrated, its bodily functions can't operate as effectively, and therefore you're gonna have less energy. It's even shown that a small percentage drop in the water in your brain could actually lead to a drastic decrease in mental energy. You also might want to consider fasting of some kind. Now, what fasting does is instead of having these quick spikes of blood sugar and then crashes, your body begins to adapt and starts to sustain the energy longer because it realizes, wait, I might not have food later. So I want to make sure I'm not spiking my blood sugar. We have this energy for a lot longer period. Now, moving on to the third factor, it's sleep. Now, this one might be the most obvious, as if we don't have a good night's sleep, we all know that the next day we're not going to feel as good. So basically what sleep does is increase the glycogen in your brain. As we just gone over, that's the amount of energy your body has to fuel itself. But it also decreases the buildup of what's called adenosine. That's basically a byproduct of the molecule our body's been using after we turn these calories into energy, ATP. So as we break down more ATP, we build up more adenosine. As we build up more adenosine, our brain starts to sense that we're having more adenosine buildup, and therefore it's going to tell us, oh, we're tired. We need to rest and deplete this adenosine because we just burned all this energy. So what's the best way to do this? It's by having a proper circadian rhythm. And the best way to have a healthy circadian rhythm is by practicing good sleep hygiene. First off, you want to make sure your schedule is as consistent as possible. The second factor playing into your circadian rhythm is your internal body temperature. This is because in our ancient ancestors past, when the sun would rise, we would get more heat and our body would recognize it's daytime, we need to start doing work. And as the heat increases, our body's internal temperature rises as well. And at night when the sun goes down, our internal body temperature drops because it's getting cooler out. Something else you should consider with your circadian rhythm is understanding that it's not just one hump where as you get to the middle of the day, it peaks and then it starts going down. It's actually more of a wave. You'll have multiple peaks in the day and multiple dips throughout the day. That's why for a lot of us, we feel tired around 2, depending on when you wake up. I've actually been using the app Rise, so it gives me an idea of when my energy levels peak and when they deplete. So I've been trying to do that to better schedule my day. Another factor that influences circadian rhythm is exercising. When you exercise, your body understands that we expended energy, and now at the end of the day, we need to recover from the exercise we had earlier. Also, eating. You want to make sure it's at least 3 hours before you go to bed. Having that time to digest and let your body understand that we ate and now it's time to wind down. Also, consuming drugs of any kind, whether it's caffeine, nicotine, weed, alcohol, whatever it might be, they all play a role, and it does disrupt our circadian rhythm. And then also light exposure. As with body temperature, our body's used to, when the sun rises, getting more light and recognizes it daytime, and at night when the sun goes down, getting less light and recognizing it's nighttime. So today, with all the screens we have access to, we're constantly getting blue light, which is the light that we get exposed to in the daytime. So taking at least an hour before you go to bed to turn off all devices, just try to eliminate as much blue light as possible, can help our body get more into that natural state of less blue light and recognizing it's time to go to bed. And in the morning, when it's daytime, getting as much sunlight as possible, our body will recognize that it is daytime and start to get our circadian rhythm in motion and understand that this is the start of the day. And however many hours later, your body recognizes it's time to go to bed because we got that sunlight so much earlier in the day. So now that I've gone over how all these factors influence our body's energy, I'm going to go over how to best optimize these factors throughout your day in order to have the most energy and be as productive as possible. So starting off, I would get light exposure. So right away, we're starting to tell our body it's daytime, it's time to start to get the day going. And at the same time, I'll set up my cold plunge. And right away with the cold plunge, which you might think, oh, I'm decreasing my body's temperature, it's actually the opposite. With the cold plunge, your body's actually getting really cold, but once you get out, your body's gonna wanna go in the opposite direction, return to homeostasis. So right away, we're getting two more things to help our circadian rhythm. And if I am consuming caffeine at the time, I will avoid it for 60 to 90 minutes. Caffeine will actually block any remaining adenosine from being depleted in the brain. Waiting at least 90 minutes will help deplete that, although I do recommend not having caffeine at all. And at this point, I'll be intermittent fasting till probably about 11. So I will avoid eating. I'll probably just go to the gym instead. I'll start doing 30 minutes of aerobic activity, just start heating my body up. On top of that, getting the benefits of aerobic activity, trying to get my heart rate to about 60 to 80% of its maximum. After that, my body will be a bit warmed up, so I'll go and do some resistance training in order to increase my metabolism throughout the day and moving forward. And hopefully at this point, it'll be about 11, which is when I start my intermittent fasting eating window. So I would go from about 11 to 7, do about a 16 to 8 hour fast, and I'll get home and I'll eat something that's high in protein and low in carbohydrates. I'll take any supplements like vitamins and minerals just to make sure I'm not having any deficiencies. You don't necessarily need vitamins and supplements in order to actually fulfill all your nutrition needs, as if you are making sure you're getting from your diet, then there's no need to supplement. Now at this point, my body will begin to peak in its circadian rhythm, so I'll start doing some activities that require more of my mental energy, whether it's sitting down to do some work, or if I do have a job, going and doing that and focusing on my task and being as efficient as possible for about 3 to 5 hours. Now, when you do start to crash, take a 30-minute nap. If you can't take a nap because you're at work and you're not necessarily able to, instead do a 5-minute meditation. Meditation is a good substitute because it is mentally restorative, but a nap would be ideal. So after you had the restorative session, do another 2 to 3 hours of work. After or even during your second session of work, I would have dinner. So make sure it's at least 3 hours before you go to bed. Have something high in protein, nutrients, making sure your body's gonna be able to fuel itself and restore it during sleep. After dinner, you might want to take a hot bath. So with the cold plunge, you're gonna be increasing your internal body temperature through your body's reaction to it. The hot bath will actually decrease your body's internal temperature because you're going to be reacting the opposite way. Now, if you do have over an hour before you go to bed, take advantage of it, get some exposure to screens, relax, watch some TV, go on your phone, social media, whatever it is. Enjoy it now before you have to turn it off and start to unwind later. And if you can, while you're exposing yourself to this blue light, you can also foam roll or stretch out. Just begin to relax your body, so when you do get to bed, it's a lot more comfortable and it makes it a lot easier to go to sleep. Now, as the last hour goes to bed, you want to turn all screens off. And with this time, you want to do something that's going to relax your mind. So there might be something like reading a fiction book where your brain can unwind and just dive into the story. Or maybe it's journaling where you can get all your extra thoughts out. Writing out paper can help decrease the stress of having it going throughout your mind. Then now at this point, go to bed at the set time you've been going to consistently.